Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Azimah Ahmad Zaki from University Putra Malaysia. To present my study on emotion regulation, peer influence, and relation aggression among Malay adolescents in Selangor. What is relation aggression? Relation aggression is a form of aggression that is not physical, but it harms social interaction and social status. It is manifested through manipulation, exclusion, rumor spreading, and rejection. The nature of the behavior is covert, it is hidden, hard to detect compared to physical aggression, and usually strategic. You can see from the local statistic, for example, Institute for Public Health and the Ministry of Education, UNICEF Women and Girls, found that 20 to 21% of adolescents below 18 engage in this behavior as well as verbal aggression. Similarly, a study from US Department of Education found that 22% of Americans aged 12 to 18 also engage in this behavior. This behavior carries a significant long-lasting impact not only to the social functioning but also to the mental health and school adjustment of adolescents. It is highly harmful during this period of time because it targets the social bond and belonging that are highly valued during this period. Therefore, there is an urgent need to identify the underlying risk factor that drive this behavior. Based on past study, there are two factors that are related to relation aggression. First is emotion regulation. Study found that emotion regulation or dysregulation is linked with higher risk of relational aggression. And there are two strategies that are proposed of emotion regulation. First is cognitive reappraisal, happen during the input, and another is expressive suppression, happen during the output. It is proposed that cognitive reappraisal evaluate and decide what kind of behavior to convey, whereas expressive suppression inhibit or suppress emotion. And the author proposed that expressive Gross proposed that expressive suppression are more maladaptive and leads to poor psychological well-being, less positive effect, and cognitive strain. And another factor found related to relation aggression is peer influence. It is found that deviant peer affiliation, including best friend or peer exhibiting relation aggression, are correlated positively with relation aggression. It is also found that early and middle adolescents are susceptible to peer influence, and that peer pressure conforming to peer pressure are due to membership access and to attain status. And based on the research gap, the research gap are formed based on past study found that past study usually focus on unidimension of the unidimension nature of the variable. For example, the past study usually focus on emotion regulation or dysregulation, or peer influence usually focus on deviant peer affiliation. There are other. It is a multi-dimensional factor. Both variable are multidimensional, so there are other factors that can be explored. For example, expressive suppression or peer pressure. And study that do focus on this dimensionality are usually conducted in individualistic setting, or it is done in collectivist setting, but very few. And past study shows also there are very few study that uses R to analyze data, and also few study that uses multiple imputation to handle missing data. The study is based on two theory. First, development theory of aggressive strategy. It is proposed that there are three stages of developing aggressive strategy, and relation aggression emerge during stage 3, or and appears in early adolescence and due to verbal and social cognitive development. Another theory is social cognitive theory that imposed behavior are learned through observation and reinforcement. Therefore, the objective of the study is to examine the link between emotion regulation, specifically expressive suppression, and peer influence, specifically peer pressure for fighting, with relation aggression among Malay adolescents. And the research question is to see if there are any relationship between emotion regulation and relation aggression among Malay adolescents in Selangor, and is there any relationship between peer influence and relation aggression among Malay adolescents in Selangor. Okay, the method used is correlational research to see the relationship between the variable, and this study uses multi-stage sampling, a three-stage random sampling, and the respondent are Malay adolescents from Selangor, and the method used is a survey. There are 403 total students, total respondent here in the study, and 60% of them are girls, and 21 from Form 1, 37 from Form 2, and 42 from Form 4, and 53.3% from rural, and the rest from urban. And the study has gotten all the ethic approval from the university community ethics, and until parents consent and student consent. And the study translate all instrument from to Malay language, so it uses back translation, and also has pilot study to validate to ensure that the translation are suitable for the respondent, and the form of the student are given either Google form or hard copy, depending on uh, depending on the school. And for analysis, the study uses R, the free software. And to handle missing data, the study uses multiple imputation via mice with 20 imputed data, and 50 irritation. And because of outliers and non-normal data, and suggestion from other authors, it's decided not to delete in the data. Instead, this study uses both Pearson and Spearman. Pearson for parametric, and Spearman for non-parametric, suitable for non-normal data, to compare um, and to validate the value of the mean analysis of Pearson. The three measures used in the study are CSBS by Crick and Grapiter, to measure the frequency of engaging in relation aggression. It has 5 item and 5-point Likert scale, and the alpha rate are acceptable. Second is the emotion regulation questionnaire, and the expressive suppression subscale are used in the study. It has 4 items, 7 responses, and the alpha rate are also acceptable. And the last scale is domain of peer influence, and only the peer pressure for fighting, to measure the peer pressure to support fighting, are used in the study. It has 5 items, and the response rate originally was 7, but the author suggested to collapse the last highest score to 4, so there are only 4-point response, and the alpha rate are satisfactory. And the study found that with the range of for relation aggression, the descriptive statistic for relation aggression found that with the range of 5 to 25, that uh, the the score are low. Whereas for motion aggression, with the range of 4 to 28, and with the median of 38, found that it is moderately to high score. And lastly, peer influence, with the range of 5 to 20, and the mean of 8.33, it shows that the the score of peer influence are low. So what can be concluded here is that peer influence and peer relation aggression are low among Malay adolescents, and emotion and regulation are moderately to high um, so, emotion regulation. And based on the bivariate analysis, the upper part here is the analysis. Is the result for the Pearson, and the low part is for the Spearman correlation. We can see here that um, you can see here that there are no significant relationship between relation aggression and emotion regulation for both method here and here. And this is based on pool study, because I use multiple imputation. Therefore, there are 20 imputed data, so all the data was pooled together to for the final result, and therefore the standard error and also the confidence interval were included. So apart from emotional regulation, you can see that peer influence and relation aggression are significant. The relationship are significant. The score for the coefficient for Spearman are higher compared to Pearson, but both are significant. So what can be concluded here is that the score for relation aggression and peer influence are low among Malay adolescents, but emotion regulation are high, and that there are relationship between peer influence and relation aggression, but for emotion aggression, it is not significant. There are three limitations for the study. First, it is a cross-sectional study, so no causal inferences can be made. So future study can include longitudinal studies, and this is a self-report data, so it is prone to biases, desirability biases. So future study can include multiple informant report, for example, including teachers, peers, to overcome the biases. And lastly, this is the study focus only on Malay adolescents. Therefore, it can only be generalized to Malay adolescents in Selangor. A future study should include all Malaysian in their studies. There are three implications. First, theoretical implication. Due to non-significance of emotion regulation, future studies should incorporate function of aggression, including proactive or reactive relation aggression. And the significance of peer pressure for fighting and relation aggression, it shows the underlying social mechanism of peer influence that can generalize across different forms of aggression. And for practical implication, peer-based intervention to target peer dynamic and form, and to also advocate for pro-social training programs to mitigate to lessen the pressure to conform to deviant peer norms. And lastly, methodological implication. Study should consider consider using multiple imputation to improve estimate accuracy, power, and reduce biases, and conduct they can consider dual correlation method, for example, like the study used Pearson and Spearman to validate the robustness and of the result, and to ensure reliability despite the data being not normal. That's all for me. Thank you for your time.